Hi theory students. In this videocast today, we'll be talking about secondary dominants going to the 5 chord. I'll define what these are and show you how to write them. A secondary dominant is a chord that acts like a temporary 5 or a 5/7 to some place other than the tonic. Think of this as like having a personal dominant or 5/7 if you're not a 1 chord, but if you're something else like a 5 chord. If that sounds a little confusing, we'll show you some examples. The secondary dominant leading to 5 has the function of a predominant chord, but it's somewhat more intense than the 2 or the 4 chord that we've seen. So instead of writing a 2 or a 2/7, when we raise scale degree 4, we get either a major chord or a major minor 7th. Let's look at the example in the book, example 20.1, and then we'll isolate the special chords there. Here is example 20.1, and remember we're in the key of E flat. There are the E flats. And we reach a half cadence in the key of E flat, and that half cadence is on a B flat major chord. That's 5 in the key of E flat. Now we've got 2 special chords to look at. That's one of them, and this is the other one. Here I have these isolated in a diagram. Okay. Notice that over here I've got an A natural, F, C, and E flat. If we had a 2/6/5, we would have not an A natural but an A flat, F, C, and E flat. So there's a 2/6/5 in the key of E flat, F, A flat, C, E flat. So instead of this going to 5, what I've got instead is A natural going to 5. That seems to go to 5 every bit as well as a 2/6/5, if not better. Part of the reason is think about this as a temporary leading tone to B flat, which is scale degree 5. So if B flat gets its own personal dominant 7th chord, we don't call that a raised 2/7 or a major 2/7, but we call that a 5/6/5 of 5, meaning that 5, B flat, has its own temporary 5/6/5 chord. At the cadence, instead of the regular 2 chord, which would be F, F, A flat, and C, instead we get F, F, A natural, and C, which goes to 5 at the half cadence, but of course we're in the key of E flat. So we don't call that one a major 2 chord, we call it a 5 of 5, meaning that the dominant here has its own dominant to serve it temporarily. So to repeat the points that I was making here, We don't write this as a major 2 or a major 2/7, but we write these as a 5 of 5 or a 5/7 of 5, or in the case we just used, it was an inversion, so we called that a 5/6/5 of 5. We're still in our original key, E flat, but we treat this special chord as though we were temporarily in the key of the dominant. This means that raised scale degree 4, and we refer to this as sharp 4, even if we're in flat keys and raising it means making it natural. We treat sharp 4 as though it were a temporary leading tone to 5. Therefore, it's not doubled, and it resolves to scale degree 5. When we have a 5/7 of 5, it resolves just as though it were a 5/7 in the key of the dominant, and all of the rules about complete and incomplete chords, resolving the 7th of the chord down by step, etc., apply. So in this example that we have here in the key of G major, there's G. A dominant chord in G would be something like that. If we have a 5 of 5, then I need a C sharp, not a C natural. If it were a C natural, it would just be a plain old 2 chord. But with the C sharp, it acts as a temporary leading tone, and it's going to be going up to D. If I had a 5/7 of 5, almost the same chord, except now I have a G in the tenor. And now it goes to 5. Remember, we're still in the key of G. In a case like this, the C sharp is a temporary leading tone. That goes up to D. The G is the 7th of the chord, and that goes down to F sharp. And because we don't want to have parallel fifths or a bad doubling, when the 5/7 of 5 is complete, the 5 chord that we get is incomplete. If I had another A in the alto instead of the E, then I could have a complete 5 chord when the 5/7 of 5 resolves to it. So it works just like the dominant sevenths that we've seen before. The difference is that here it's in reference to D as opposed to our regular dominant seventh in reference to G. Remember, this is a predominant chord. It can follow a regular predominant, which we've learned as either a 2 or a 2/6 or a 2/7 or a 4 chord, before going on to 5. When it does, natural 4, or in other words the regular 4 in the key, and sharp 4 are usually put in the same voice, or are part of a voice exchange with scale degree 2. That is to say that one voice goes from 4 to 2, unaltered, and the other voice goes from 2 to raised 4, with or without passing tones. So in this example, in F major, and here's F, we can have a 2 chord, 5 of 5, 5, which of course we expect to go to 1 when that resolves. Or I could do the same thing with a 5/7 of 5. Here we go. Remember, in this example, because the 5/7 of 5 is complete, the 5 chord will be incomplete, so that our temporary leading tone goes up, and the 7th of the 5/7 of 5 goes down. And finally, I talked about the voice exchange possibility. So here in the key of C, here's a 2/6, a passing chord, and a 5 of 5, to a 5. Of course, we're still in C major. We had one exception to the idea that this temporary leading tone has to go up to scale degree 5. If we have, in the last example here, a 5 of 5 going not to a regular 5 but to a 5/7, now look in the alto voice. Instead of the F sharp going up to G, now the F sharp gets canceled and goes to F natural. So here's our 2/6, passing chord, five of 5, 5/7 of 5. So the alto voice that may sound a little odd, but that's normal. When it happens in the same voice, that cancellation doesn't sound very bad at all. So to summarize what we're doing here, we're introducing a new kind of predominant chord, one in which scale degree 4 gets raised, and when we do, what was the 2 chord before becomes a major chord, and a temporary dominant to our own dominant, scale degree 5. Or what was a 2/7 now becomes a 5/7 of 5. All of the voice leading works as though we were temporarily in the key of 5, and everything that we've learned about dominants and dominant sevenths and their resolutions apply. We'll look at a lot of examples of this, and we'll be writing a lot of examples of this as well. That's all for today.